And now,
from Greater Santon and beyond, get ready for the SANTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
That's right, it's the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and as always available as a podcast on Apple, Google and Spotify. I'm Alexander Leibner. This is edition 82, week 36. And it's the last one for August 2022. And then we are well into September and well into spring. Have I got that right? Sounds about right. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@santontimes.co.za. If you want to connect on social media, you can visit @SantonTimes on your social media platform of preference, or you can go onto the website and visit www.santontimes.co.za. And if you're listening in real time, which means you're listening on Mix 93.8 FM, don't forget the WhatsApp line is open on 084 822 0938. Slap the plus 27 in front of that if you're messaging from somewhere else in the world. Otherwise, the normal number will probably apply if you're in the boundaries of the Republic of South Africa. Send us your questions, thoughts, or comments and be part of this show, part of the conversation, part of the SANTON Times Hour Nation. That's you. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen and be part of the show. Coming to you from Sandton, and I'm thrilled to tell you that all is well in Sandton land. Vincenzo joins me again as my very competent sound engineer in the production booth, looking after all things sound. And yeah, what a week it's been, Vincenzo. Hey, things are hip and happening. It's getting warmer. People are coming to the swing of things. I was attending a jumping class. It's probably not the right word. There's probably a technical word for it. With Lisa Rayleigh. She's got that new studio that's opened this weekend. They had the biggest gathering of people on these, I think they're called rebounders, but I think the sort of more sort of common term for them will probably be they're like those mini trampolines. I'm sure you've seen them. And it's a hell of a workout, eh? Developed by NASA to help astronauts get back into shape when they're back from space. And let me tell you, you are going to sweat yourself if you're going to try that out. Then there's a new movie channel that launched on DSTV this week as well. So I had a chance to pop in there and have a look at what's going on for all movie lovers. And then, can you believe it? The Pay by Face Africa Mix Fest 2022. It's 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks. And here we've been talking about it for months. And before you know it, 2 weeks, and there it is. So if you got tickets, I'm sure you're going to be really, really excited. Well, coming up on this week's episode, it's become part of the Johannesburg landscape, and now this high-speed train has expansion plans in its sights. I'll be chatting to the CEO for a business update on that. Then he walked away with the title of Sole Survivor on Mnet's latest season of Survivor South Africa. Spoiler alert, it's going to be one you don't want to miss if you're a big fan of Survivor. After that, I'm joined by the chief blender of one of France's major cognac houses to talk all things cognac. So if you're into cognac, you might want to have a listen to that. And finally, a Cape Town comedian is performing in Sandton, and he'll be telling us all about his new show. All this and more coming up. Your headlines for the week are coming up shortly. And as always, let's get the show going with a fresh new music release.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
The SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and that was Elton John and Britney Spears with Hold Me Closer, a new take on Elton's hit track Tiny Dancer. Might have noticed that. And the song dropped this past Friday, so this is like fresh out of the box. Quick look at the time, and it's time to take a look at your headlines for this week. So, there seems to be a rise in demand in office space, and according to the Sunday Times, Redefine Properties is seeing renewed interest in premium commercial space in Sandton as a result of people working from home. Now, just to quickly explain that. So, what's happened is everyone decided during lockdown we're going to work from home, and some companies have kept that policy that they've just said, look, you know what, you don't have to come in every day, just work from home. And then you can come in once or twice a week. What that's done is it's reduced the amount of traffic into Sandton by something like 30 or 40%. So you might see less cars on the road. And as a result of that, people have said, well, if there's less traffic to drive into the office, why not just drive to work? And I've got peace and quiet. I've got high-speed internet, great coffee machine. I can do my work, and I don't have to worry about being stuck in traffic. So how funny is that? I mean, how wild is the thought that people are working from home? That's now driving more people to go to work. And the premium office space is also an interesting one because the premium office space sort of offering, in terms of Redefine, but I'm sure there's also a lot of other property owners who've really zhuzhed up their office space. They're now looking at office spaces with all these extras. And I mean, I actually visited Discovery this week, Discovery Healthcare, and I'll talk about that just now. But Discovery Health has got the most insane office in Sandton. I mean, they've got a soccer field on the roof. They've got basketball courts. They've got an entire gym. I see they're busy building tennis courts or netball courts literally every sport somehow covered. And I mean, who wouldn't want to go to work and then get a chance to squeeze in a gym session or a basketball game or a soccer game or whatever. So, yeah, people are opting to potentially come back to work and making use of the great facilities at the office whilst also not having to be stuck in traffic. So good for them. Yeah, another sad story here. Police officer killed. Gauteng police are on a manhunt after a Sandton police officer was shot dead while having a haircut in Bramley View this past weekend. And the story goes that this off-duty police officer was having a haircut. There's quite a few operators on the side of the roads. They offer like a really quick and clean and inexpensive service if you just want a men's haircut. And supposedly this guy walked up to this police officer and shot him dead just right there. So anyone with information on the whereabouts of the suspect is urged to contact the nearest police or call the Crime Stop number 0860 10111. Or alternatively, you can also use the police app, My SAPS app, and give the police an anonymous tip-off because not much more is known about this particular incident. And then Vitality launched the Vitality Gym series in Sandton this week. So Discovery hosted some media at their Sandton head office, along with Vitality ambassador and wheelchair tennis champion KG Monchane and former South African rugby player Stefan Terblanche to launch the first ever Vitality Gym series, which they're doing with Virgin Active and Planet Fitness. I got a chance to speak to Vitality CEO Dinesh Govender about the Vitality Gym series, as well as his own gym routine as a busy executive. Let's take a quick listen.
We're very excited about getting people exercising again. We've seen, volumes of people getting back into their running and cycling and gym routines. But we'd like to accelerate that now that lockdown is over and that, we're getting into the summer months. We have a very successful Vitality Run series. We've had it before COVID. We've now seen thousands of people this year take part in events in Joburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, and Durban. Thousands of people in Team Vitality Orange just enjoying these runs, earning vitality points and just getting healthier. And we thought, why don't we translate that concept into the gyms? We have some of the world's most amazing gyms with our partners Virgin Active and Planet Fitness. And how do we get more people excited about going into gyms? Because it adds all sorts of elements to their exercise regime. You've got the weight section, you've got group classes, you've got the social element of meeting your buddy there for a gym session. So really, really exciting about opportunities for people to exercise and add muscle mass or add other elements to their routines. That's where the gym series came from. Let's find a day where anyone can get into the gym, participate in this competition, but really to create a sense of community around gym goers and say, well, how many of you can do this? How many burpees and push-ups and sit-ups in 8 minutes? Let's create some buzz around that and use that as a platform to market the gym benefit. I mean, just on the point of people being too busy and executives being too busy to exercise, I think it's one of those elements of just the sort of how you live your life and finding a routine. If you find the time to eat, if you find the time to sleep, you'd find the time to exercise because it's important for you. People deprioritize exercise in the moment or deprioritize eating healthy in the moment because there's so much else going on in their lives. I use all of the behavioral economics tools of Vitality. So I combine stuff I love with the need to exercise. I enjoy running, so I do that, with my community, with my Exco members, with my kids, if they'd come with me. I cycle in front of the TV, so I make sure I'm watching something I love, and that keeps me on the bike. And for gym, I've used, an age-old technique, which is, sort of booking a personal training session, because then I'm forced to actually go and, meet this person that I've set an appointment with. And that gets me into the gym, even if it's really late or if it's really cold outside, it'll still get me up and into the gym.
Right, so that's the Vitality Gym series. You get a chance to win 160,000 Rand in prizes, I believe. And the first round kicks off on September the 3rd, which is this week. And we'll put some more details up on www.SANTONTIMES.co.za. Those are your headlines for this week. Pack your bags, load your cards. We're jumping on the Gautrain with William Dachs, CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency, right after the break.
Follow the SANTON Times on social media.
At SANTON Times.
From Greater Santon to the rest of the world, this is the SANTON Times Hour.
And as the SANTON Times Hour for this week gets rolling, so we get rolling with our first conversation and first interview. And I'm thrilled to be joined by the CEO of the Gautrain Management Agency, William Dachs. And William, you've been quite busy. There's a conversation going on about expanding the Gautrain after its initial success based on the network that you currently have. William, what is that looking like at the moment?
Alexander, thanks for having me on the show. It's a big project. I mean, that's where I'd have to start off with, and thanks for giving the nod to Gautrain as an initial success. We firmly believe that it was. We also, and knowing that you're based in Sandton, really have Sandton as the center point of our new network. What our travel sort of experience from an operator point of view has shown is that Sandton's the node. Sandton's the node that people want to get to. It's big business district, and it's also one that's incredibly constrained from a car access point of view. So if you think about us coming in from the north and the south on Gautrain, and to a certain extent from the east, mostly the airport traffic, the missing part is what happens in the west of Sandton, areas around Randburg. There's a massive problem in terms of people being able to come in towards Sandton from that western side by road. It's an area that really isn't served by any meaningful public transport. The roads aren't coping. And in our analysis, it shows that this is the logical first phase of an extension of the current rapid rail network that we've got.
Well, I'm having a look at my notes here, and I'm seeing that the proposed expansion looks to provide a link from Marlborough Station to a new Sandton station, and I'd like to ask you what that is, and then through to Randburg, Cosmos City, and then south to Little Falls. So that kind of covers that West Rand area.
Right. Yeah. So the new Sandton station, and again, I assume that you've ridden on the Gautrain. Otherwise, this conversation ends now.
William, very much so. Very much so. It's my preferred mode of transport to the airport, because I literally get on the Gautrain, 15 minutes, there you are at OR Tambo. No mess, no fuss. It's great. So that's a given.
Fantastic. Then we can carry on the conversation. So if you go down into the current Sandton station, you'll kind of go down those escalators. And as you're going down the escalators, you'll kind of see that it's almost a massive cavern, but it's quite a long cavern, and it faces down Rivonia Road. If we bring in another rail line that must head out towards the west, it can't run in that same direction. So basically, we have to put kind of a T at the end of the current Sandton station. We would link the two, but it would be kind of running in a different direction to the current Sandton station. So it's nothing big and fancy in a different location. It's the current station sort of extended on the 5th Street side of the station as it is now.
Right.
And then, as you say, it heads out to Randburg way.
Now, if that is the case, and from the calculations I've got here, that is quite an expensive exercise, underground burrowing versus building one of these overhead air bridge type scenarios that we see with the Gautrain as well. I think it's something like 10 Rand for a bridge versus 100 Rand per however many meters if we had to kind of come up with numbers. I mean, it's sort of a tenfold cost to have to burrow out of Sandton and then hopefully sort of appear somewhere outside.
I mean, but before you even talk about costs, though, you've kind of got to make your rail line work in terms of the gradients. And let me, technical term, but let me try and explain it. The trains that run as fast as Gautrain don't do steep grades well. So you've got to kind of keep them quite flat. And the one thing that Gauteng in particular, but the Sandton area in particular is not flat, right? So you're going to have a mix of underground, you're going to have hopefully some at grade, sort of on the surface, and some up in the air. It's just the reality of sort of rail construction. The configuration that we've got at the moment is that SANTON, obviously, station is in tunnel underground at the moment. We would remain in tunnel as one exited SANTON on a new route towards Randburg. But you then drop out quite quickly from the ground, or you come out of the ground quite quickly. And then we've got to look at a mix of sort of at grade and up in the air type configurations.
So all of this has to be built on a business model, I suppose. Otherwise, you won't get anyone buying into this or anybody funding this. And I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers here that you've been transporting around 26,000 passengers. Pre-COVID-19, it was up to 60,000. What are those numbers looking like as we go into 2023? Are we seeing some sort of recovery on that?
No, for sure. I mean, first thing to say is that everything is sort of per day. So the 26,000 is roughly half of what we were carrying, the sort of the 56,000 pre-COVID. Gives you a sense that we kind of halfway back to where we were in 2019. But we need to carry much more than that, and I think that's the exciting part about these extensions, is that we really grow the rail network to get to areas that didn't have rail access before. So if you think about it this way, we've kind of got a market of people who use the Gautrain now, and we'll grow it back to pre-COVID numbers. But then we get a new market of people who hop on the train. And they'll come into SANTON. SANTON will be the junction station. And then they'll make a travel choice. Do I want to continue on to the east, sort of out airport direction? Do we want to change at SANTON and hop on a train maybe to Park Station? We want to go north towards Midrand, Pretoria, Centurion Way, and all of a sudden those numbers start looking a lot bigger. And they're not looking, they are a lot bigger. That helps us a lot as well, just from what we call the network effect. People being able to get from not just point A to point B, but to C, D, E, and F. And eventually, if we get this right, there's 5 phases of expansion. We'll have added in another 150 kilometers of rail line in the province. All of it rapid rail, so that's fast-moving trains with stations a bit further apart. And then importantly, of course, that it links in with other transport modes, So we've got to link in with the BRTs, with the current metro rail system where, and it will be improved. And of course, things like minibus taxis, which then start providing services to and from our stations. So it's really part of a bigger picture here, which is very exciting for us.
Now, you've had to referee quite a few concerns from people, I think, and this has been something that's been going on for a while now. Every time this conversation comes up, on the one hand, in terms of the cost of the Gautrain being considered a very premium public transport system, and on the other hand, also people who are now concerned that the Gautrain might suddenly appear on their garden wall or somewhere on a piece of land sort of close by to them, and the costs and the possible disturbance. How are you managing all of that?
Yeah, so the most important one for us now, and I'm not saying that the cost issues and those bigger policy issues aren't important, but for us the priority is just communicating properly with people whose properties may be affected, or even people who feel worried or have a perception that their property will be affected. And a lot of the public participation in the meetings which we've been having have been around providing information. There's so much rumor and speculation and, oh my goodness, this is going to happen tomorrow, I'm going to lose my house. We're spending a lot of time just trying to explain how this process unfolds. So if I can, I'd like to spend just 30 seconds on this. We're at the early stages. We're doing the what we call the route determination. And really, it's just trying to put a line on the map that says this is where the rail line, based on our kind of preliminary desktop studies, should go. And that takes into account kind of minimizing environmental effect, avoiding green spaces, trying to be as cost efficient as possible. and all of those elements. But it's not the final route. That's still got to go through a massive process of design, where we really narrow down and say, okay, this is where it's in tunnel, this is where it's in the air, this is where it's on the ground. And everyone who registers with us as an interested and an affected party will be consulted. That's our undertaking. Everyone will have input into the final route. Not to say that everyone's wishes can be taken into account, but we will be listened to. I tell everyone we did this on Gautrain 1. Every input that we got where we possibly could, we took it into account. And the final route isn't where we had originally said it would go. It changed to take into account people's inputs and other factors. So there's no need to panic. We're doing this public consultation process now, but that's just the precursor. When we start the preliminary design, hopefully in a year's time, then we'll have a full public engagement. And what we'll do is just keep people informed all the way along. Sort of one final point on that is we had a very useful meeting with various ward councillors along the route. And it was really helpful to be able to talk to them because, of course, they're very in touch with their community and to try and get information through to community.
Well, William Dachs, there's a lot of track still ahead when it comes to the Gautrain. And I appreciate you taking the time to chat to us and to bring us up to speed. And it sounds like there's still many conversations to be had before the first tunnel or bridge or piece of rail is put down. CEO William Dachs, he looks after Gautrain's Management Agency. And it's time for a quick halftime music break. You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour, and I'll be right back after this.
Back for more?
The SANDTON Times Hour continues.
The SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and Don't You Worry Child by the Swedish House Mafia. Taking you into the second half of the SANDTON Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner, and you know the drill. If there's anything that sounded good on the show, but you didn't manage to jot it down on your collar or on your arm, well, all the details are up on the show notes on the sandtontimes.co.za, and there's a detailed breakdown of everything you discussed on this week's edition and a little bit more. Also, be sure to check out the social media accounts at SANDTON Times and feel free to engage. You can send a tweet. The WhatsApp line is up and running. There's a DM or voice note that you can send. Whatever works for you. And you can also use hashtag SANDTON Times Hour. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about Survivor South Africa, the latest season out. And can you believe it? A few weeks later, it's all over. And it's been a bit of an odd one because they were showing the season every day. So Monday to Thursday as opposed to every week. So maybe that's why it felt like it all happened so quickly. And you really had to be very disciplined in your viewing. So you either had to come home on time to watch it at a particular time, or you had to just avoid every social media and your work colleagues and whatever for a certain amount of time. So you had enough time to catch up on all the episodes and then sort of get into a conversation. But spoiler alert, we're chatting to the winner of Survivor, but by now you should have hopefully seen all the episodes. If you haven't, this is the point at which you listen to something else or put on a song or whatever, because you don't want to mess it up for yourself. But the winner of Survivor South Africa, Return of the Outcasts, Dino Paulo, joins me. And Dino, congratulations on your epic win.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks so much for that.
Well, Dino, it's great to have you on. And I mean, when I say your epic win, I say that because you literally cashed in on everything. I mean, if there was anything more that could be won, you would have probably won it. You walked away with the 2 million rand grand prize this year. You walked away with the Zambezi Queen
Mahindra.
80,000 rand holiday. And then you also had the Mahindra XUV 300. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
It is absolutely unbelievable. So it's so crazy. For those who watch, they know that I spoke about a car curse, right? Which is like in survivor law. It's never been done across 22 years of English-speaking Survivor that the player that's won the car in the game has actually won the game. So for me as a fan, this just blew my mind, and I feel so privileged, man. And not only that, I also get the holiday on top of it. It's like I still struggle to comprehend it. I feel a bit selfish in a way to walk away with everything, but I'm so grateful, man. It's just oh man, I just feel so blessed beyond measure, and I still struggle to comprehend what it all means.
Well, look, I mean, you've had some time to think about all of this. I mean, the show is recorded slightly delayed, so we watch it at a different time to when you are out and about in the field. You've had some time to process all of this. What decisions have you made? I mean, have you decided kind of how you're going to invest, spend the money? Have you decided what you're going to do with this holiday? I know you've also got a wedding that you're planning, or you're planning to get married. So this is potentially the honeymoon.
Yeah, so I get married in just over a month to the most incredible and supportive woman ever. I can honestly say, sorry, just to go off topic here slightly, it is so difficult for loved ones at home. This game is incredibly taxing for them to let us go on our way and be caught up in survival land. So she's been this absolute rock. So I'm so grateful for that. But yes, we get married in a little bit over a month. So this win goes towards a bit of wedding fund, honeymoon fund. Hoping to do the Zambezi Queen over Kirsten's 30th later this year. In terms of the money, look, this is a fantastic start to married life. Like, what a wedding gift, what a way to go. But there is more than enough to go around. So there's a few special people in my life. Do also need a bit of assistance, so I'll definitely be helping out there now that I can. And selfishly, I've got a few things. I am an avid active skydiver that skydives competitively, so this is definitely going towards a bit of training as well. Selfishly, like I say, there's a bit of selfish money there that will go towards training because I am working on my next dream, which is to represent South Africa. So yeah, a bit of both, a bit of responsible, a bit of giving and sharing, and a little bit of selfishness there attached as well.
Well, it sounds quite wholesome, and I suppose there's the first rule in married life is that nothing that a 5-star holiday can't sort out. Let me tell you, I'm sure that must have blown her socks off, and I mean, I was just absolutely amazed as to how you cleaned up on the show. But Dina, at the same time, I was also quite disappointed in the first time that you appeared on Survivor, because when someone when someone comes onto a show with a particular title, especially like Survivor, it's a bit like if you watch The Amazing Race and someone comes on, they say, I'm a geography teacher, and they're out in the first round. You always think, come on, dude, like it's The Amazing Race and you teach geography and you didn't know where Cambodia was. But now here, Dino, you came onto the show. You run a escape room business. And I thought, well, if anyone's going to be good at games, at strategy, at tactics, this is the guy. It didn't play out that way at all.
No, because I'm such an active member of the community, a lot of the people that I was cast with had seen me in and around and knew of me and my background and how much of a fan I was and things I'd done within the community, that had just placed this massive target on my back from day one. And I didn't do myself any favors. I completely let that get to me. And I just like made one bad decision after another, or even if the thought process was all right, my approach was like terrible because I just gave off this nervous energy constantly that nobody trusted. So yeah, I don't want to say I crashed and burned, but I mean, I crashed and burned a little bit early. And although that was tough as a fan, I was always just grateful for the experience. Just to be on the show is the gift, as a fan. So I was always grateful for that. So to be able to return, geez, what a privilege. Like we say, like to play this game once is an absolute privilege. To be asked to return is an honor, To be able to come back and completely change that around and redeem myself it's incredible. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Well, listen, it sounds like a bit of a fairy tale story altogether, and there's probably parts of this that we don't quite know, but you did allude to this, that you had gone through a very tough time over the last 2 years. I think you even touched on the fact that you'd sold your car. I think it had been a tough time for business, I think for all of us. Everyone was busy selling hand sanitizer and God knows what else. Give us maybe a little bit of a perspective into this, that kind of the time you'd gone through, and to think that you've now walked away almost making up for that time is quite a wonderful story.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for it, man. Like business, we'd had a bit of a tough time with a prior business partner who had actually taken us for a bit of a ride and put our business in an incredibly precarious spot, to say the least. And we managed to recover from all of that. Myself and my current business partner, in an incredible way, we managed to begin the recovery process, and then COVID hit again. So to put it like an issue on top of an issue, when you started seeing lights, it was just like this train that was coming towards us at full speed. Like with many people who experienced it throughout COVID. I mean, COVID was incredibly tough for everyone, So we get whacked with this. And again, I'm just so grateful to have like this amazing supportive fiance, so that although my personal circumstances was a bit of a train wreck, I had this incredible support in her, So although it was super challenging, my life was still full, and I was still in a very privileged position. But personally, I had a lot to do and a lot to rectify. Shortly before coming out for the second time, my business partner and I and our team, this incredible team that we have, managed to turn everything around, and people just started coming back to our business in droves. I think people were a bit tired of COVID and lockdown. They were looking for something fun and exciting to do, and we provided that. And we just saw this incredible turnaround. So even before going into Survivor and coming out of it without the win, life was really looking up, and it's been so good to me. So although this win takes me a long way and it's an incredible blessing, I'm so grateful to know that the other aspects of my life have been falling in place.
Well, Dino, it's fantastic to hear, and we rejoice in your victory and the fact that you've come back and redeemed yourself. I mean, I think that's also such a great story to tell, and also that you've taken out of it so much personally, and you've got so much to look forward to now in terms of some of your future ventures. And Dino, I thank you so much for making time to chat to us on the SANDTON Times Hour.
Alex, thanks so much for having me, and hopefully we'll see a new season soon.
I'm with you.
You're listening to the SANDTON Times Hour.
The SANDTON Times Hour continues on Mix 93.8 FM and available on a podcast wherever you are listening in the world. And we change pace for this segment as we chat about all things food and drink. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Maison Courvoisier's Chief Blender, Thibaut Hontanx. Thibaut, you're in South Africa at the moment, is that right?
Yes, exactly. I've got the privilege to be in the Rainbow Nation in South Africa for 1 week, a little bit more than 1 week, 10 days. So enjoying myself.
Well, welcome to South Africa. And you look after one of the more notable cognac houses coming out of France. And maybe you can give us a little bit of context in terms of your role, in terms of the Maison, just to give us an overview.
So Maison Courvoisier is a maison in Cognac, based actually in Jarnac. It's a small little town near Cognac in France. And it's been created in 1828, so it's almost 200 years ago, by Félix Courvoisier. And today we continue to create and do our blend. And I'm the seventh generation chief blender for Maison Courvoisier. So you see, it's been quite a long process. And my role is to look after the whole process and to do the blend for continue and the legacy that I've got from my previous chief blender before me.
An interesting job, the chief blender of a cognac house. What does that actually entail?
It's a lot of course, testing. So it's something that I do every day. It's quite, let's say for everybody will say quite fun, but testing eau de vie every day early in the morning, it's sometimes not so fun to just get this continuity. Of course, I look after the vineyard, I look after our distillery, I look after, we work with a lot of wine growers in the area, so to have to check the quality and work with them. And of course, the big part is the cellar and the maturation of our eau de vie and the blending of them.
So as a chief blender, are you allowed to deviate from the secret sauce, as they would say, in terms of what makes Courvoisier work? Are you allowed to bring in your own style into your generation of blending?
That's a good question. Yes, actually, now it's a continuity. Like I said earlier, it's you have to continue to do the same. So XO that we did 20 years ago must be the same today and tomorrow. We've got different eau de vie, but we must have the same result at the end. But the second part of the chief blender is when we do the innovation, when we do a new blend, something either a limited edition or one we add in a range. And that's where the innovation came, and I can do more or less whatever I want.
Palates are evolving. People are looking for new flavors. They're looking for new things to try out. What are some of the things that you're saying happening in cognac? I mean, I know in South Africa, cognac has made a big return. Are you seeing any major trends when it comes to cognac and the flavor of cognac globally?
Yeah, actually, cognac is reinventing themselves. It's true we will like old-fashioned drink before, but I can see, and I see it for the last 10 years, a lot of innovation coming up, except playing with the cru, so the region of where we produce the grape, playing with the barrels, the type of oak that's been used. Recently, we launched Mizunara second maturation. So Mizunara is a Japanese oak, and we were very stunned by the result of it, and that's something new in the cognac that we are not used to it.
Now, a lot of people might see cognac, like you've said, as a sort of an older drink. It's something maybe that you have as a nightcap after a dinner or after dessert. You sit down with a glass of cognac and something that you savor. But are you seeing cognac being drunk in other ways as well? People enjoying cognac in a different way? Maybe even people who've never tried cognac. Is there something that they should try just to kind of get into it?
Yeah, actually, the best way to have young cognac like VS or VSOP, of course, it's in a mix, it's in a cocktail, and you can do. And I tasted several fantastic mix cocktail done with cognac, and that's mainly the way now it's enjoyed and tasted all over the world.
Well, I mean, cocktails are definitely the conversation to be had right now as South Africa goes into spring and summer. So I think there'll be a lot of cocktails being drunk over the next couple of months. There you have it. The keeper of the Cognac Courvoisier's Chief Blender, Thibaut Hontanx. He is responsible for blending at Maison Courvoisier. He's the 7th generation blender, and I thank you so much for making the time to join us on the SANDTON Times Hour.
From Greater Sandton to the rest of the world, this is the SANDTON Times Hour.
The SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and available on podcast. Almost wrapping it up for another week, and it's been so great to have you tuning in for this hour and being part of the SANDTON Times Hour Nation. And just before the break there, Avicii with Silhouettes. And what a great track. Only the best dance music on this show, let me tell you. As we wrap things up, it's always good to catch up with some local artists visiting or some visiting artists who are local or whatever combination you prefer. And there's a brand new show coming to the Theatre on the Square. And I'm thrilled to be joined by comedian Dalin Oliver. Dalin, good to chat to you.
Alex, thanks so much for hanging out with me and catching up, bro.
Dalin, you've won an award for this show, so this is no pressure on you.
Yeah, look, I'm very chuffed about that. We don't do this for awards. We do this because we love the art of stand-up comedy. But as at the National Arts Festival in Makanda, formerly Grahamstown, for those of you that are not aware of Makanda. So it was the first time we're back at the Live Arts Festival since 2019, which was great, overwhelming success in terms of artists coming there, good being in a space with comedians again. We were about 20 plus comedians that were at the Arts Fest over a 10-day period. And I was just fortunate enough that the panel was watching all the stand-up comedy shows and other shows. There were about 120, just about 120 shows that went through the process. And I was fortunate enough to have mine win an Innovation Award. So very, very excited about that. And I've been traveling with the show since last year, November. It debuted at the Artscape in Cape Town in 2021. And since then, I've been hitting the road with it. Been in Bloemfontein. Can you believe it? They're laughing in Bloemfontein, bruh. I was in Bloem. they were laughing that side of the world. We were in Gqeberha, Kariga. That's a PE and Uitenhage. For those of you that don't know, the name change is very important. And then Paul, my side of the world, Paternoster, along the West Coast in Cape Town. I was in Joburg in March, and now I'm just very excited to bring it back to Joburg for a 6-show, 5-night run at the stunning Theatre on the Square in Nelson Mandela Square.
Well, it's great to have you in Sandton, and let me tell you, I think you should have just won an award for having any sort of show in Makanda, just being able to pull it off, never mind actually hosting it. And
if you haven't been to Makanda, you have to go. The fact that there's a pub called the Pothole and Donkey is pure magic, or the Donkey and Pothole, it's pure magic. Only if you're a local do you understand that if you fall in a pothole in Makanda, you can actually end up in East London or Gqeberha. Like, it's that deep.
Well, we've done our bit for Makanda, Visit Makanda, or Makanda Tourism and Travel. Dalin, tell us a little bit more about your show now. So what can people expect when they come to Stay at Home Comedian?
So Stay at Home Comedian is basically a therapy session. It's a therapy session for me, complaining about my neighbors. We all have spaces where we're either living in apartment blocks or we're living in different complexes. For me, it's an apartment block. So my neighbors on my left, They play adult tennis at the weirdest hours of the morning. If you don't know what adult tennis is, you can use your imagination. You know, we grew up in a generation of 33 where we don't speak about the 3-letter word. We speak about birds and bees, right? So my neighbors on my left play adult tennis, but then they have the audacity to complain about me playing Notorious B.I.G. while busy cleaning my apartment. I think that's a big double standard. And Alex, to make it worse, they sing along with my music because the way my apartment's set up, there's a partition over here. So we can hear everything if people are talking amongst each other. So one day I was chilling on the balcony and I was playing Pina Colada and I heard him singing, "If you like Pina Colada." I'm like, no, you complain about B.I.G., sing Pina Colada and still play adult tennis. This is not working at all. So that's the one arrangement. The other one is my neighbor. My neighbor's got a cat and I don't know if you've experienced this ever. The cat keeps jumping over or crawling under the partition and is living rent-free in my flat. Initially, I wasn't sure what to do, but I bought cat food. I got the litter box, and I've officially adopted the cat. Like when you see me, I look Caucasian. People don't know if I'm white or colored when they see me. They always hesitate until you hear me speak. So I am colored, and I say that's my 0.111% of Caucasian heritage that said I have to adopt a cat. It was the right thing to do. It's very important, you know, that I was true to my cultural heritage. So that's what it's about. It's about neighbors in a complex and numerous instances where I just go, how do we speak about this? You know, neighborhood watch, WhatsApp groups, whatever the case is, people throwing flames and fires to each other when they don't really know each other. So it's a cool show, man. Travel the country with it. People are laughing. People have enjoyed it. And it's as colorful as the shirt. So stick it and come laugh.
I was going to say, it almost sounds like a playwright getting hold of your body corporate WhatsApp group and turning that into a 1-hour show.
Dude, you don't even understand. And I think all of us face this challenge where our neighbors are either loud, they're playing music, they're doing something that irritates you.
Tell me, you also come from a broadcasting background, but you've also come from a teaching background.
That's correct, bruh. I am a qualified high school mathematics and history teacher, 5 years at UCT. Can you believe it? I taught for long. I taught for about five months. In total, I taught for 5 months, and that was in 2013. And thereafter, I actually wrote the stand-up comedy show. My very first special is called I Came, I Taught, I Left. So it speaks about my teaching experiences. But shout out to the teachers. They're the real rock stars of society. I decided to go the other route and tell jokes for a living. Fortunately, 12 years later, I can gladly and proudly say that people are still laughing. Fingers crossed. Long may it continue.
Well, maths teacher with a sense of humor, anything's possible in the world right now, let me tell you. Dalin Oliver, it's so good to chat to you. You've got your show Stay at Home Comedian running from the 27th of September to the 1st of October at the SANDTON Theatre on the Square. Tickets available at the box office and also available through CompuTicket. And I think it's about 150 rand. That'll set you back for
Magic.
that hour and a little bit of laughing. Thank you so much for making the time to be on the SANDTON Times Hour.
Thank you so much for catching up and hanging out, and shout out for supporting local comedy and all things local. We appreciate you, bruh. Take it easy.
There you have it, Dalin Oliver. That's it for another edition of the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and is always available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. You can email editor@santontimes.co.za, or you connect with us on social media at SANDTON Times, and you can also visit the website on www.santontimes.co.za, and feel free to send through your thoughts, your questions, your comments. I know somebody even asked me, if I've got a good idea, if I've got a good story, how do I get a hold of you? Well, just email that email address, editor@santontimes.co.za, or you can just slide into my DMs and just send me a question or your contacts or whatever. Big thank you to all our guests for this week who connected with us and made the time to chat. Vincenzo, as always, you're great behind the desk, and thank you for your help on the production side. And thank you to the SANDTON Times team as well as everyone else at Mix 93.8 FM. Thank you for listening, and let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANDTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.